the Ukrainian breakthrough halted the Russian offensive. It was now or never for the Ukrainians to make the next important step. Deadly combat began as the Ukrainian Special Forces launched a mechanized breakthrough into Stepnohirsk, putting the entire Russian effort here under threat of collapse. Ukrainian military intelligence special forces dismantled Russian infiltration groups attempting to push toward the regional capital, eliminating more than 300 Russian soldiers through coordinated drone strikes, trench-clearing assaults, and close-quarters combat, effectively stopping the enemy offensive. Those rapid counterattacks restored control over critical positions across 3 separate axes before Russian units could consolidate. Ukrainian forces are now entering the second phase of their operation to turn the tide completely, with the key objective becoming Stepnohirsk. After pushing Russian forces back from surrounding areas, Ukrainian troops gained enough operational space to begin conducting deeper raids, particularly along the western flank near Primorsk. This relative freedom allowed the Ukrainian command to plan a mechanized assault that would allow a breakthrough into Stepnohirsk. Ukrainian planners first used reconnaissance drones and special forces patrols to identify the safest approach corridors, mapping Russian firing positions, minefields, and drone launch sites before the assault even began. Due to the extensive mining of the area by both the Ukrainians and the Russians, Ukrainian officers decided to rely on mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles that would provide enough survivability for troops to move along the local dirt roads without becoming immobilized and exposed to constant Russian drone strikes. Geolocated footage released by the Ukrainian Special Forces unit Artan shows the beginning of the operation, with Ukrainian armored vehicles advancing carefully along the road leading toward Stepnohirsk during the early morning hours and under the cover of dense fog. Despite these advantages, protecting the Ukrainian assault group from Russian drones, the route was extremely dangerous, as destroyed enemy vehicles littered the road and limited the speed of the Ukrainians, while mines remained scattered across their path. Several mines detonated as the convoy moved forward, but the Ukrainian MRAP vehicles continued advancing despite the explosions. Once they reached the northern edge of Stepnohirsk, the Ukrainian formation split into several groups. Armored vehicles immediately began suppressing Russian positions with machine gun and automatic grenade launcher fire, targeting the first rows of buildings to suppress Russian forces holding the outer perimeter of defense. Ukrainian forces have launched a major counteroffensive near Zaporizhia, methodically eliminating isolated Russian pockets and liberating multiple villages. When the Russian High Command finally realized the scale of the collapse, desperate mechanized counterattacks only resulted in catastrophic losses, with over 1,200 casualties in one sector alone. The Ukrainian forces started eliminating the isolated pockets of Russian soldiers near Dobropilya one by one, liberating numerous villages in the process. The Russian High Command suddenly understood the real situation on the ground and launched desperate waves of mechanized attacks to reach and save the encircled troops. The Ukrainian armed forces have launched a major counteroffensive near Dobropilya, collapsing some of the Russian pockets and liberating several key settlements. The breakthrough began with the liberation of Kucheriv Yar, a village that had been under partial Russian control for weeks. Ukrainian paratroopers from the air assault forces conducted the operation, evacuating 10 civilians under fire after coordinating their pickup via drone. Geo-located footage shows Ukrainian troops raising the national flag over the settlement and capturing more than 50 Russian soldiers, all now added to Ukraine's prisoner exchange fund. Momentum did not stop there, and Ukrainian troops advanced eastwards, liberating Zaporizhia and the surrounding territory. Footage shows Ukrainian assault groups, supported by reconnaissance and strike drones, capturing 7 Russian troops during a house-clearing operation. The General Staff reported that 44 Russian soldiers were killed, 8 wounded, and 9 captured during these attacks. Drone footage from these villages shows tree lines covered with Russian bodies, grim proof of the intensity of Ukrainian fire and precision. However, such clearing operations take time, as the Russians have expanded their use of drones to supply encircled troops from the sky, dropping small containers of food, ammunition, and medical supplies. Though insufficient for sustained combat, this has prolonged the survival of the trapped units. Moreover, the Ukrainians have avoided rushing in to prevent triggering the Russian High Command's attention. This approach meant Russian generals continued receiving falsified reports indicating stability, while Russian forces were gradually attrited to prepare for the final clearing operation. Local commanders, desperate to save their careers, sent several reinforcement attempts that only resulted in more massive losses. These localized decisions further weakened Russian cohesion and ensured Ukraine could dismantle the encircled formations methodically, one pocket at a time. When Ukrainian forces finally began clearing the remaining pockets, the veil lifted for Russia's high command. Overnight, what they believed to be secure positions rapidly vanished from the map, one after the other. Shocked by reports of simultaneous collapses, Russian commanders ordered emergency mechanized counterattacks to reconnect with encircled troops. For 3 days, they launched assault after assault near SHOCKS, turning the area into a graveyard of armor. Despite trying to use the poor weather to their advantage, wave after wave of Russian armored vehicles failed to achieve anything, as the Ukrainians had mined the area and drones were in the air to finish off any surviving vehicles. Ukrainian drones captured many Russian bodies in the aftermath, They tried to break through a narrow passage in the engineering barriers, but remained there forever. In the panic, some of them crawled into an anti-tank ditch, trying to reach a better position with some sort of protection. But they fell into a death trap with an elusive sense of cover. Due to the lack of protection from above, the anti-tank ditch made them an easy target for the Ukrainian drones. Additional footage shows Ukrainian snipers now positioning themselves in recently liberated tree lines, setting up to rain down heavy fire on any Russian soldier moving into their field of vision. The Russian tactic to conceal battlefield realities from the high command has backfired spectacularly. When the truth surfaced, with pocket after pocket collapsing, the response was to throw even more forces into the grinder, skyrocketing the losses. The 1st Azov Corps reported that within 1 week in its area of responsibility alone, they counted 1,226 Russian soldiers killed, wounded, and captured, along with 23 armored and 130 other vehicles, 39 artillery systems, and 226 drones. Given the scale of cooperation among multiple Ukrainian formations defending Pokrovsk, total Russian losses are several times higher, as precise counts are impossible to make at the current time.